us for our webinar on the benefits of cloud accounting. My name's Jenny, I'm here from Kreston Reeves, and I'm one of our cloud accounting specialists. So for a few years now, Kreston Reeves have been developing our expertise in some of these cloud accounting products, and I've been talking to businesses on how they can keep their record-keeping process just really nice and efficient and gain some of the benefits of cloud accounting. I'm here today with Mark from Xero, who are a market-leading cloud accounting product. And we're going to talk you through this morning. Firstly, we're going to talk about why cloud, why now. So that's going to be some of the benefits of keeping your accounting records online. Mark's then going to give you a demonstration of Xero and some of the features that will be really useful for your business. We'll talk about how Kreston Reeves can help you decide what products are best for you and how to move to them. And there'll be an opportunity at the end for us to answer any questions you have. I'll hand over now to Mark.
Perfect. So, without further ado then, I think it's time we kind of jumped on into some of that agenda that Jenny just mentioned there. And one of the first things that I really wanted to tackle, I guess, and look at today is how the cloud can really help you work smarter and faster in your business. And I guess the obvious place to start is, well, what is the cloud? You know, the cloud is something that we probably hear a lot about. We're all probably guilty in some cases of talking a lot about the cloud without really understanding exactly what it is and how it's changed the way that we live and the way that we work. And you'll probably know that the cloud is where you put all of your data. So all of your files, now increasingly your software, you can access it from any device, anywhere, at any time. And that is one of the great benefits of using cloud products. And it wouldn't really be a bold statement, I guess, to say that the cloud has kind of changed everything that we do. So it's changed the way that we work, the way that we bank, communicate, sell and buy, amongst many other things. And if you just take banking as an example, think about your personal life. It used to be the case that money was only available to you when you were physically at your bank and you had to go and withdraw it. And then with the advent of cash machines, ATMs and internet banking, you can now access your financial data, your cash, wherever you are on the line, as long as you've got that internet connection. And just to kind of really illustrate, I guess, the pace of change that the cloud has brought about in our personal lives, this is something that really puts that pace of change into perspective. Because these businesses that you see here, now I doubt there's many of you online today that haven't at least used one of these businesses. I'm pretty sure all of us would have heard of at least one of them. And these are all businesses that some 20, 25 years ago, before the dawn of the cloud as we know it now, they didn't even exist. So these businesses were born into the cloud and they are now all household names, I'm sure you'll agree. So you can really kind of see the speed of change that the cloud has brought about and how it's enabled some of these businesses to work smarter, work faster in completely new ways as well. And cloud technology has just gone beyond kind of changing things in our personal lives. It's also really starting to now change the world of accounting and the world of tax. And that's obviously one of the reasons why you guys are here today. And we're kind of talking to you about some of the benefits that you can enjoy in terms of the way that you work as a business with your accounting software. And HMRC, they're very, very open about their desire to use new cloud technology, new digital platforms to become the most digitally advanced tax administration in the world. And they want to do that and achieve that goal to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and the ease of tax compliance. And so some of you may have heard by now all about a program or a vehicle for this change called Making Tax Digital. So Making Tax Digital, or MTD for short, is part of the government's plan to make it easier for businesses to stay on top of their tax. And it really does start to signal the end of paper accounting for millions of businesses across the UK. And I guess one of the biggest questions that I've had from business owners about MTD is, well, what does this actually mean for me? I kind of heard a little bit about it. I see it in the newspaper at the weekend, but how's it going to affect me and my business? Well, Making Tax Digital, MTD, is going to be introduced in stages. So from April 2019, which is kind of the first deadline that you might have heard a little bit about, businesses with a turnover above the VAT threshold will have to keep digital records for VAT purposes. And from 2020, Businesses may be asked to keep digital records and update HMRC quarterly for different types of taxes. So we might be talking about corporation tax, income tax further down the line. But for now, it's that deadline of April 2020 where we're going to start to be using compliance software to file quarterly VAT returns. That's the kind of key thing that you need to bear in mind. And this is going to have, a significant impact on many businesses out there. And it might seem a little bit scary initially, but there are actually many, many reasons to be really cheerful and positive about some of the impacts that MTD is going to have. It's ultimately going to provide more businesses with clearer reporting cycles for tax. It's going to hopefully take away some of the stress of your tax and VAT compliance building up and then being left with a nasty surprise at the end of the year. And ultimately, as we said there with the digital record keeping, it's going to mean far less physical paperwork for you need to be dealing with. I'm sure many of you agree is absolutely a positive thing. And the key message is that the preparation should really be starting now. So with businesses moving on to cloud accounting platforms such as Xero to keep digital records and improve efficiency and boost profitability, one of the reasons why we're here today is to really show you how that partnership between Kreston Reeves and Xero can help you achieve all four of those benefits, if you like, of online cloud accounting. So it's probably a good opportunity then, before we jump into a bit of a live demo of some of the features available in Xero, to talk a bit about some of the benefits and what they actually might mean for you day to day. And one of the clearest examples for me in terms of a benefit of using cloud accounting, undoubtedly, is accessibility. So accessibility means you can access your financial data in the cloud wherever it's needed. So if you're used to working with manual records, maybe you keep paper records at the moment, or a spreadsheet, or maybe even you use desktop software. At the moment, you can only access that data when you are physically located where that data is. So if it's paperwork, where it's stored, or if it's desktop accounting, the machine that software is downloaded onto. With cloud accounting, it means whether you're on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, or a mobile, crucially, all you need is that internet connection to be able to view your data. And one of the best examples of this is the Xero mobile app, which we're going to be taking a look at live in a couple of seconds. The second major benefit that I really wanted to touch on and bring to life for you today is really about collaboration. And collaboration means ultimately that you as a business owner and your advisor are accessing, collaborating over the same data. So again, thinking about desktop software, you could only really collaborate over that data when you'd shared it around other people. So that might have physically meant putting it onto a CD-ROM and sending it over to somebody, or exporting it out and emailing over. Collaboration was pretty difficult, and by the time data reached your accountant or another type of advisor that you might work with, it was already out of date. Now, having that single source of truth in the cloud is really just going to mean that you're going to have better collaboration, and ultimately that means better relationships that you can build with advisors or other key stakeholders in your business. Following on from that, and we've kind of touched on it already, I guess, it's real time. So what cloud accounting does is it completely changes the game in terms of having that real time accounting data. And this, I think, is something that is revolutionary for many business owners that I speak to who are new to cloud accounting. Because again, what we're talking about here is that real time data being up to date and continuously updated in the cloud. So rather than manually updating it once a month, once a quarter, or sending information over to our advisor on a set sort of cycle, we've always got that real-time access to data in the cloud from anywhere at any time. And that does really change the game in terms of the type of data that you get out when you're looking to make business decisions. Ultimately, the more up-to-date, real-time information that you have, the better informed that you're going to be as a business owner, and ultimately that means better decisions. Another key benefit is security. So with a cloud accounting product such as Xero, for the cost of using Xero, you're having access to all of that world-class security. So with desktop accounting, again, you were the custodian of that data. So you were responsible when that data was held on your local desktop, you were responsible for all of those security policies that helped prevent that data from being corrupted, or even maybe a physical device being stolen that had data on it. And unless you're a security expert yourself, then that kind of support, that kind of protection, all of those policies around security can get quite expensive. But with your data in the cloud, it's automatically stored and encrypted and backed up by Xero. And effectively, you're passing on some of that security burden to us as the platform itself. And finally, cost clarity is something which is obviously really important to all of us. So with Xero, there's no annual upgrade fee. So you're not automatically required to, sort of upgrade at an extra cost to you when new features are released. We automatically release those features to you. There's no nasty surprises at the end of the year needing to pay a fee to stay compliant or to stay functional or anything like that. So you get complete cost clarity as in terms of the updates that are released, and also around user licenses as well. So with Xero, there's no extra cost to adding users. You have an unlimited number of users that you can add so that everybody in your business who needs access can have it. So I hope that's kind of really teed up, if you like, some of the benefits of cloud accounting and what they can bring to the way that you work as a business. And what I wanted to do next was use the remainder of our time together to just jump out of these slides, and we're actually going to jump into the product itself and have a little look at some of the key features that are available to you. So I'm just going to switch my screens for one moment. And the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to jump into something called the Xero dashboard. So as we do this, guys, don't forget that you have access to that Q&A panel. So if you do have any questions that pop up throughout the session about any of the features that I'm about to show you, any of the functionality, then please do go ahead and pop that question in the Q&A panel there. So the Xero dashboard then. So you see my screen just switched now, and we've landed on that dashboard. Now, the dashboard, if you've seen any screens in Xero before, you might have kind of seen this on our website or something like that. This is a really iconic screen within the product, because what this screen is a mission control for your business. So this is effectively a one-stop shop where, as a business owner, you can access this dashboard, and the idea being it will highlight to you all of the key information that you need to know about what's happening in your accounts. So it's almost like a mini kind of health check indicator. So ideally, you want to be checking this dashboard regularly and checking some of the information which is surfacing up to you. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes then talking about some of the information that you might see on this dashboard here. Now, the first one is this handy little bank tile here, or bank account tile. So what we see here is a little indication of our business bank account. So we can add here as many different bank accounts as the business has, and for each of those bank accounts we'll see a nice little what we call dynamic graph, which will update over time. So what's happening here is automatically this little tile is updating with our bank account balance. Now, what Xero also supports in terms of bank accounts is something called bank feeds. Now, we have up to 10 direct feeds with major banks in the UK. And direct bank feeds, you might have heard a little bit about them, but what they enable is a continuous, seamless daily flow of data between your bank account and your accounting software. Now, this is a real game changer in terms of bank account information, because what the direct bank feeds mean is that every 24 hours into Xero, you are going to get that reliable, continuous flow of bank statement data. So that every morning when you log in and look at this dashboard in Xero, you'll see an up-to-date bank balance. So again, we're linking back to that topic that we picked up earlier on about having that single source of truth. When we look at this bank account balance in Xero, we know that that accurately reflects our real life bank balance. And again, what that means, real-time data equals better information, better decisions are going to be made. We're going to jump into some bank reconciliation in a second. I know bank reconciliation is a common headache for many businesses out there, so we'll take a little bit of a closer look at that in just one moment. Just covering off a couple of the other little, some of the important tiles on the dashboard here. Down at the bottom left-hand corner, we see this nice little cash in and out graph here. Now, one of the really nice things about the tiles that you see on the dashboard here is that if you see a particular bar chart and it has a balance on it, or it's something that you want to interrogate in a little bit more detail, then all you need to do is click on the balance that you see on the dashboard here, and that will then drill straight down into the transactional data that sits behind that. So if I notice that my cash out in June was a little bit higher than I expected in my business, I can just click on that bar chart there, and what that will do is drill down, and I can then interrogate all of the cash that left my business in June, and it will give me a little bit more context behind that information that I see there. We also have this accounts watch list on the top right hand corner. So this is a great little way of keeping on top of those really important, those key chart of account codes that you have in your business. So if you want to, for example, keep a really close eye on how much you've sold so far this month, then again, you could pin your sales account code there. And just with that click of a button, I can drill down on that balance and understand exactly what that figure is made up of. And down at the bottom right hand corner here, we have a couple of tiles around invoices owed to you and bills that you need to pay. Now, these are fairly self-explanatory. I think we could probably all work out what these are showing. But what I wanted to just point out here is just really the use of terminology. So what we try to do in Xero, wherever possible, is use plain English. We don't want to use technical accounting language because we appreciate that not all business owners out there are accountants, and you didn't necessarily get into your line of work. Your passion isn't necessarily accounting. Accounting's kind of just something that you have to do as part of running your business. And so we want you to feel comfortable using Xero to understand things like invoices owed to you, so that you can keep a really close eye on any overdue invoices, chase those invoices up, and ultimately that's going to mean better cash flow in your business. So really just trying to speak a language that everybody understands there with that simple terminology. So let's jump up to the top left-hand corner then. I think that's been a nice little intro to the dashboard, and we're going to click now on Reconcile 22 Items and take a little bit of a closer look at bank reconciliation in Xero. Now, bank rec in Xero is designed around the game of Snap. So I'm pretty sure that we've all heard of or played the card game Snap, maybe when we were a little bit younger. But we remember Snap, you have 2 packs of cards, and the idea being you turn over each pack of cards, and ultimately what you're looking for is a match or a snap. And the feature of bank rec in Xero was designed with that basic snap concept in mind. So what we have is, firstly, over here on the left hand side, a pack of cards, and these cards are our bank statement lines. So these are all the information from our bank statement, from our bank account, which is fed into Xero. Remember, ideally, hopefully through one of those direct bank feeds that we spoke about earlier on. But however it's arrived in there, whether it's come through a bank feed or whether we kind of manually imported it into Xero using a spreadsheet, we can see all the money coming into and out of our bank account. And the idea being, we want to then take that bank statement line and match it over here on the right hand side to a transaction in Xero. Now what Xero does, which is a little bit different to some other software that you might have used before, is it tries to automate as much of that process for you as possible. So we want to remove as much of that kind of manual legwork for you around bank reconciliation as possible. So what we have here, for example, is some money coming into our bank account from our customer Ridgeway University. And what Xero's done is it's applied something called an auto match. So it's analysed the bank statement date, the amount, and it's looked at the payee, in this case Ridgeway University, and then it's searched through our accounts to try to find a match to that income into our bank account. And it has successfully found a match over here to a sales invoice. So we've done some work recently for Ridgeway University. We've sent out a sales invoice to them, and now they've gone ahead and paid that sales invoice into our bank account. And so we have what we call this auto match. Now the beauty of this is that we don't have to go searching for that transaction. All we need to do is click on that OK button to confirm that Xero has indeed found the correct match. So it's really going to reduce that whole process of that bank reconciliation. And really my role as the human being is just actually confirming the decision that Xero has made there. So it's a great way that you can see the automation is going to save you a bit of time there in your bank rec. Another area is something called bank rules. So bank rules are going to be really, really useful for those of you who have any type of recurring or repetitive expenditure. So that might be something really simple like a utility bill or something that every kind of business has. You can set up as many of these different bank rules as you like in Xero. And the idea behind them is that you set up a rule which defines how you want Xero to handle a particular bank statement line. So it might be that we have a corner shop just round the corner from our business, called 7-Eleven. And what I do is I pop round to my corner shop sometimes, and I might just buy some sundry items for the office. It might be things like tea and coffee for the office. I might buy the odd lunch down there for my clients, whatever it might be. And so what I've done here is I've set up a bank rule that says every time I go down to 7-Eleven and you see a transaction on the bank statement where the payee is 7-Eleven, what I want to do is I want to code that transaction up to the account code general expenses. I want to apply a description of sundry expenditure or miscellaneous expenditure, and then apply a VAT rate which is applicable to that transaction. So this is a rule that we set up a little bit earlier on to use that payee condition. But as I go up to the top of the screen here, you'll see that you're not just limited to using the payee on the bank statement. There's actually lots of different conditions that you can set. So it might be that I have some kind of rental expenditure, which is the same amount each month. So actually what I want to do is set the rule up based on the amount. I know that every month I pay £850 in rent. So I can use that amount condition there to again help Xero code that transaction up automatically. Now the beauty of the bank rule is, of course, again, that once the rule's set up, it will really help me automate the bank reconciliation process, because all I need to do is click on OK to confirm that I want to apply that rule, and Xero will actually go ahead there and code that transaction up for me. So some fantastic examples there of automation, hopefully saving you a little bit of time. If there are any other questions that pop in about bank rec, guys, then please do remember, pop them in the Q&A panel there. There's lots of functionality in there, too much to kind of show you all in one go. But if there's something specific that you want to see, then please don't hesitate to ask, and we can have a little look at that at the end of the session. Next up, though, what we're going to do is take a little bit of a tour of online invoicing in Xero. So we're going to go up to Accounts, and we are going to click on Sales. Now, Sales is our homepage, if you like, for everything to do with our sales process. So this might be creating quotes, sending those quotes out to our customer, and then once a quote has been accepted, going ahead and actually creating a sales invoice, and ultimately getting paid, which is obviously something that we all need to do. So as I mentioned, we do have a really useful little quotes feature in Xero, and we're not going to go through that in a huge amount of detail today, but what I will just show you down at the bottom of this page here is a quote which has been accepted a little bit earlier on. So I've sent a quote out to a customer, and the great news is they've gone ahead and accepted it. And what I'm now able to do is I can turn that quote into a sales invoice. So once you have that accepted quote, the idea being that you can take a quote and move it straight into a sales invoice without any data entry being involved. So here's our quote, and we're just going to select it, and this time we're going to come up and click on Create Invoice. And as you can see straight away, just with that one click there of the Create button, I'm then taken into a brand new sales invoice, and all of that information that was on the quote has now pulled through onto my sales invoice, and I don't have to go and re-enter any of that information. It's really just going to seamlessly flow from that quote into the sales invoice here. Now, there are lots of different data entry shortcuts. So if you are, hopefully you're not, but if you are finding yourself doing lots of data entry in your accounting software, then Xero comes with lots of little sort of tips and tricks that you can use to speed up your data entry. So you can see here I have a due date on this invoice, and I can use a little keyboard shortcut that just pops in there a +30, or maybe something like a +1W for week. And then what Xero will do is it will automatically calculate that for you. So it's a great little time-saving feature there to, again, thinking about any opportunity where we can minimize that data entry. But this all looks pretty good now. We're happy with that sales invoice. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and approve it. And I'm actually going to show you how you can send out a sales invoice directly from Xero and email it to your customer. So at the moment, what some of you guys out there might be doing is, for example, exporting your invoices out of Xero, or of your existing software, and then, or maybe even manually creating them in Word, and then actually manually emailing them out to your customer. Well, with Xero, one of the great features around invoicing is that you can go ahead and just email directly from Xero. So just by means of a little demo, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to email this out to myself, so that what you can see is exactly what the customer, your customer, experiences when you send out a sales invoice. And I'm also going to touch on why that's a really important process for you as the business owner as well. So we've gone ahead and sent out our invoice there, and I'm just going to switch over into my email inbox. And as you can see, before I've even arrived in my email inbox, I've already received that email from Xero with my invoice showing. And when your customer clicks on that email and opens it up, they'll see this nice little page here where what they're prompted to do is go ahead and view my invoice. And when you click on view invoice here, what the customer is taken onto is, if you like, a live website that shows their invoice. So it pulls through all of that information from the invoice that I created into Xero. It's got my logo up at the top there, in this case my demo company logo, but it's got all of that key information. And it's really important to say as well that obviously this can all be branded up and customized in terms of the layout. You can, really get this kind of looking and feeling exactly as you want, really reflecting your brand and all of that key information that you need to show. Now, one of the major benefits of moving your online invoicing into a cloud product like this, and this is going to have a huge impact on how you work as a business, is also the ability to link up payment services. So what Xero does is it will allow you to link together your accounting software and a payment service provider such as PayPal or WorldPay or Stripe or iZettle or any of those other great payment services that you might be using as a business. And in this case here, what we've done is we've connected up PayPal. So the experience for my customer is they get this lovely big green Pay Now button on my invoice, and I can click on that, and my customer can click on it, and they'll be taken straight over into the PayPal checkout process where they can go ahead and pay my invoice. Now, the impact that this is having on small businesses in the UK is really significant, because what we're starting to see now is small businesses that are using payment services are getting paid much faster. And if you get paid much faster, then that's fantastic for your cash flow. And cash flow is still so important for most small businesses out there. Just going back onto our sales dashboard, a couple of other things that I just want to touch upon. The first of which is just regarding something called contact groups in Xero. So if you invoice a large number of contacts or customers, if you like, in one go, so maybe if you operate on some kind of monthly billing process or quarterly billing process and you're sending out a bill to lots of your customers at the same time, then what you can do is you can actually group together your customers, and you can then create a single sales invoice that's applied to each of those individual customers. So it's a fantastic way to send out, if you like, a bulk invoice, and it really reduces that whole data entry around creating your invoices each month. Now, I saw a fantastic example of this recently where a business owner was sitting there and manually each month creating in Microsoft Word 100 different invoices to send out to their different customers. And it was a really manual process, and this is a great feature just to really automate that. With one click of an invoice, you can apply that to those 100 customers and have it emailed out from Xero. Now, this business here in the demo company is struggling a little bit with some overdue invoices. We've actually got 5 invoices at the moment that are overdue sitting with customers. Now, another great feature, which we're not going to go into any great detail today, but another great feature that Xero has is Invoice Reminders. So what you can do is you can actually set up in Xero automatic invoice reminders. So you can really, if you like, pass on the burden of chasing those invoices to Xero and automate that process of credit control. So if you are spending a lot of time phoning up customers each month, chasing up invoices, then again, that's a fantastic way to reduce that and automate it a little bit more and enjoy some of the benefits of a cloud accounting product. Next up, we're just going to take a brief tour of some of the reports in Xero. So we're just going to jump up to the tab along the top here and click on Reports and All Reports. Now, the first thing that you're going to see when I do that is there are lots and lots of different reports in Xero. So as you can see, we've got reports covering some of our key financial indicators that we want to take a closer look at. We've got reports over here on the right hand side that are focusing on sales, so things like keeping on top of our overdue invoices and the debts that are owed to us. different reports on things like inventory, etc. So lots and lots of different reports available, and there's plenty of help and guidance out there as to what all of those different reports show. But what I wanted to do today was just pick out one report really as an example. Hopefully it's a report that most of you will be used to if you've been running a business for a little while now, and that's just the simple profit and loss report. So something that's important to every business. So I'm going to click on that profit and loss report here, and you'll see that I'm landed on to this report here in Xero. Now, the first thing to say about any of the reports in Xero, if you're using the latest version of the reports, what you'll see is that you have some report settings up in the top right-hand corner here. And these report settings are just a great way of tweaking the information that shows on this report. So you can set, for example, your chosen date range. Now, you can set completely custom date ranges if you want to there. You can start to really manipulate the report to include exactly the data parameters that you want it to run to. So a great little way to just make sure that you're getting exactly the information out of Xero that you're looking for. Now on the reports themselves, you'll see what I've done here is I've actually gone ahead and created a custom version. So I've taken the standard P&L report or profit and loss report in Xero, and I've tweaked it and I've added my own little touch to it. So what I've done here is I've added a little text box at the top here. So I want to put some little commentary into my profit and loss report so that when I send it around, all of my my directors in my business or my shareholders, then they've got some really clear information there. I can add a little bit of a narrative to it, to just indicate how we're performing so far this year. And on the report itself, what you'll notice, again, as is the case in most areas of Xero, is that you can drill down on these balances. So they're not just a kind of a text report, if you like, they are interactive. So if you see, for example, a particular line on your report that you want to drill into in a bit more detail, so it might be here that on my advertising and marketing line, what I've got here is a budget of £11,000 for the year, and my year ends on the 31st of March, and already so far this year, I've spent almost £9,000 of my £11,000 budget. So that might be a little bit of a concern to me. I've used a lot of that budget already, and I'm only a few months into my financial year. So in this example, I could click into that, actual expenditure, and what you'll see there is a line-by-line breakdown of all of my expenditure that makes up that £8,711. And if I wanted to go even further, then I can drill into it one more step. So I can actually click onto one of these invoices here and see exactly what I've spent my money on. Now, another great little feature while we're here at a transactional level, so this is an actual purchase bill which has been entered into Xero, and the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed this kind of little funny files icon feature or a little paper feature in Xero. Now, this is a great example of a feature in Xero called the files feature. And what this allows you to do is store files or documents against a particular transaction. So this was a bill that I received from my marketing agency, and I've gone ahead and entered that bill into Xero. But for my compliance purposes, what I also want to do is attach a copy of that bill. So in this case, it's a PDF, which I've then attached to this transaction. So if you think all the way back to MTD that we spoke about a little bit earlier on, I mentioned earlier that one of the requirements of MTD is around digital record keeping. So moving away from paper record keeping and onto keeping records digitally in the cloud. This is a great example of how you can start doing that, and you can start keeping digital records from today. You don't have to wait for MTD. You can start enjoying some of the benefits of digital record keeping right away. So there we go. I hope that's been a nice little kind of tour of some of those reports that you can do there, and particularly some of the customization that you can add to some of your reports in Xero. And there's a lot more that you can do, and I'd encourage you to go away and have a little closer look at some of that if you're interested in that customization. So the last little piece of product feature that I really just wanted to talk to you about today was the mobile app on Xero. So the mobile app is obviously, when we're thinking about accessibility, an absolutely key way that we can keep a top of what's going on in our business on the move. And this is really bringing to life, if you like, one of those cloud accounting benefits that we spoke about earlier on. So that whole idea of being able to access your data anytime, anywhere. Now, I'm just going to use my iPhone today for a bit of a demo, but if you're sitting there and you're using an Android device or another type of device, don't worry. We do have Android versions of this app, so you can download that from the Google Play Store, or if you're an iPhone user, you can head onto the Apple App Store and download this Xero mobile app. Now, once you've logged into the app, what you're going to see is it surfaces up to you some real key information. So we saw, just as we saw earlier on there in the browser, a bit of an overview here on our dashboard. So we can start to see some bank account information. We can have a little look at our sales and purchases. And this hopefully all looks familiar from what we saw earlier on. Now, bank reconciliation is a feature that is really, really well suited to the mobile app. So it might be, and I see some fantastic examples of this, that actually you avoid this, what we call binge bookkeeping. And if you're the type of business owner who likes to keep on top of your bank reconciliation on a regular basis, it might be that you want to log in first thing in the morning to your mobile app, and actually you can just start working through your Xero bank reconciliation on your mobile, maybe over the breakfast table even while you're getting the kids ready for school. So it's a great thing to do when you've got 5 minutes spare between meetings or client engagements, etc., just to keep on top of your bank reconciliation. And again, thinking about that real-time information then enabling us to make better decisions. It's also a great way to create sales invoices and quotes as well. So maybe if you're out and about on the move and you're at a client site and you quote up for a job and you want to actually send a quote to a client, again, that's something that you can do through the mobile app there. Just for a couple of taps, you can go ahead and then create that quote. It's also really handy for storing contact information. So what contact information does on the mobile app is it syncs with your Xero contacts. So what will happen is if you record all of your customer and supplier information in Xero, then that will sync to your mobile app. And so if you've got a customer's phone number stored against their customer record, then you can actually use the mobile app to then link to your phone and go ahead and dial out. So we can just not worry then about having to download or sync our customer contact information to our mobile phone. And then if our customer's phone number changes, we've got to again update it in several different places. It's about using the power of the cloud to really just make sure that we're only maintaining data in one single place and it's all up to date and easily accessible. So there we go, ladies and gents. I hope that's been a nice little tour of some of those features that you can really start to see, bringing to life the benefits of cloud accounting. And I hope that's given you a taste or a flavour of some of the things that you can do. So as we saw, all of this, remember, is very much kind of relevant at the moment because we are working towards, of course, those changes which MTD or Making Tax Digital are going to bring about in April 2019. So don't forget, just to reiterate, that first deadline for VAT registered businesses who are above the VAT threshold is coming down the line in April 2019. Now, the good news is, of course, there is plenty of help on hand to help you with that process of migrating and becoming compliant and making sure you are fully on board with all of those MTD requirements. And you have some fantastic support and advice and experience which is available to you through Kreston Reeves. So the team at Kreston Reeves are absolutely on the hand here to help you with all of that process and making sure you are fully kind of ready and prepared for MTD. Now, in terms of specifically thinking about Xero and MTD, well, Kreston Reeves are our platinum champion partners of Xero. And I've been working with Jenny and the team for some time now, and I know that they have some fantastic experience, particularly in Xero, and helping you to make that step into moving into the cloud, providing all the advice and support and the guidance to meet all of your business and accounting needs. So I think with that in mind, that is pretty much all there is from me. And what I want to do now is really throw the floor open to some questions. So we've already had a couple come in. So if you've answered a question, don't worry, we've got it, and we'll start working through them in a second. But if you haven't yet submitted your question through that panel, then remember, just head up to the Q&A panel there. We're going to hang around for the next 5 minutes or so and just work through those questions. So the first question then, a really good one actually, good one to kick off with, is does Xero integrate with any apps out there such as Auto Entry? and then kind of like what are the sort of next steps involved in actually tying up an app like auto entry with Xero? So really good question. So apps, it's a fantastic point then probably to jump out of my slides at this point, and we'll open up our browser. Just 1 second, and I'm just going to type in the address at xero.com/marketplace. Now, this is an address, so you can Google this, or if you can remember that, xero.com/marketplace. This will take you over to something called the Xero app marketplace, and there are over 700 different types of applications that can be connected to Xero. So there are a whole wealth of different apps out there that solve many, many different types of solutions to problems that businesses might face. So there are apps as diverse as agriculture apps out there. So apps that are specifically targeted at the agriculture industry to kind of make that whole process of agriculture reporting a little bit more smoother. There are apps out there that are relevant to every business, such as some that we touched on a little bit earlier on around payment services. So every business has the need to get paid. We all have that in common. There are apps out there for retail businesses around things like point of sale. There are inventory apps, time tracking apps. But specifically, the question that's been asked, I think, was around auto entry. Now, auto entry is a great example of a data capture app. Now, you'll find these apps, or this family of apps down here, in bills and expenses. So there are a few different examples here: receipt bank, auto entry. And what these apps are great at are taking paper data and turning that paper into digital data in Xero, which obviously, again, linking back to MTD there, is something that's hugely relevant at the moment. So just for everyone else's benefit, what auto entry does is it enables you to take a picture of something like a receipt or scan that receipt in, and it will convert through OCR or character recognition, automatically convert that paper data into digital data and import that expense claim into Xero. So really, again, removing that process of manual data entry. So yep, long answer to that question, but yes, auto entry absolutely does integrate with Xero, as do over 700 other apps out there. So I definitely encourage you to check this app marketplace out. It might even be that you're already using some of these apps in your business. It's just a case of tying them together. Another great question, this time from Andrew, who says, not sure what line of business you're in, Andrew, but Andrew invoices the same customers for the same amount every month. So is there a facility in Xero to set up, if you like, repeating invoices with minor changes? Okay, yeah, fantastic question. Right, so if I just switch back to my invoice screen in Xero, we'll head over to our accounts tab and then sales. Under the tab here, you might have sort of seen this earlier on when we looked at invoicing to groups of customers, but there is a feature in Xero around repeating invoices. Now, this is fantastic for that exact scenario that Andrew described there in his question. So a repeating sales invoice is a great way that you can set up, if you like, a template for an invoice, and that template will repeat itself at your desired frequency. So it might be that you bill on a monthly basis, and so you can set it up to repeat every month, starting from, maybe the first of this month, whatever it may be. And then you can go ahead and set your desired end date, if there is one. And then you get some different options around how this invoice will behave. There's something called Save as Draft, and what that will do is it will actually go ahead and create the invoice, but it will allow you to change the description on it. So if it's something like a utility bill, then you can create it. But if you know the amount changes each month, then you can create the template and it will create the draft invoice, but you can come and tweak the amount or tweak the description. So yep, there's absolutely many different ways you can achieve that, Andrew, and I encourage you to come and look at some of the options around repeating invoices. And Carol Ann, literally that question just dropped in. Can that be used for sales and purchases? Absolutely. Yep. So I mentioned there the example of a utility bill. So that's the sales side of it in terms of an invoice. But if we head over into purchases, you'll see, if you like, almost a mirror opposite. So we can set up repeating bills. And again, utility bills are a great example of that. We've got a question that's come in really just on the back of some of this around next steps. So hopefully that's been a lot of good content, and as I said, giving you a nice flavour of the type of functionality it's available. But I guess the question there is really just what happens next. So that's probably a good opportunity for me to hand over back to Jenny to talk a little bit about kind of what will happen next and how Kreston Reeves can help you with that process.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that question. So following this webinar, someone from the Kreston Reeves team that you work with will be in touch just to have a catch up, get your thoughts and have a chat to you about the options available. We can chat you through sort of what the best product might be for you, and we can chat as well around some of the apps that Mark's just shown. Whilst you're changing software, it can be a great time to actually think about your whole business system, not necessarily just your accounting system for your sales and your bills. The other thing that will be worth talking about with the member of the KR team is around the timing. So actually there are optimum times to convert to cloud software. Tends to be at the end of a year end or the end of a VAT quarter, and sometime when your data is really nice and tidy and a good cut-off point for that. The Kreston Reeves team are here to help. Happy. We can help you with some training. We can look at different systems that might be best for you. One of the small things that we can often do is bring over, maybe if you've already got nominal codes or expense types that you're used to using, we can bring those over, make things really nice and easy when you move over. So yes, in summary, someone will be in touch to chat you through and give you a bit of advice about what the best place to go next is.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jenny. So just as well, just to mention what will happen when you close down this webinar is we've provided a little link over to the Kreston Reeves kind of online accounting section. So you can go and check out a little bit more information on there about the types of services that are available as well. So you'll be kind of redirected to there if you want to just get a little bit more information right away. So, ladies and gents, huge thank you to everybody who's attended today. I know how busy you guys are, and I really appreciate you taking kind of 50 minutes or so out of what is hopefully a lovely sunny day for you. So, on that note, we will leave you to go and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and your evening. Thank you very much again for attending. I do hope that's been a very useful use of your time. Again, just to finally mention, here are some contact details just to leave you with as well. Hopefully you're kind of fully aware of these already, and as I said, you'll see that online accounting section on the website. But don't hesitate to get in touch if you do have any further questions that pop up after the session today. So thank you very much and enjoy your day.